Couple of reasons I'd like the wholesaling. I thought it was a better fit for us. On average, a wholesaler is going to make 10% of whatever the ARV is. So say it's a $400,000 property, you might make 40K, right? Whereas a realtor, you're making, if you're lucky, 3%, right? If you're a good realtor, you make 3%, right? Then you still have to split it with the broker and stuff. But also the reason we kind of went into wholesale was because as a young person, no matter how smart you are, you're at an inherent disadvantage, I think, with the realty side, because people are always just going to kind of look at you as, yeah, you can still get listings and still do deals, but I could have someone with less knowledge than me in my perspective who's 40 just getting into the realtor side, and someone's just going to trust them more because they're older.
Yeah.
Whereas wholesaling, we looked at it like, hey, we just got to find a deal. No one cares how old we are, what our experience is, whatever. If we can lock up something and if there's value to this deal, we're going to be rocking and rolling.
All right, you guys, welcome back to the Light It Up podcast. If you're new to this channel and you want to know everything there is about making money in real estate, selling, sales skills, building your business, or investing, then subscribe below, tap the bell for notifications so you can be the first to know what makes our great guests so successful.
Let's talk about adding leverage. So we've been getting a lot of calls of people asking us how we've hired virtual assistants to scale and leverage our business. So we've opened up our playbook to all of you. If you're looking to add leverage in your business, whether it's administrative support, ISA, outbound callers, go to addleverage.com and they'll be there to help you staffing your team.
All right, today we have Jake Burhans coming out of New Hampshire and St. Petersburg, Florida. Do I have that right?
2 places in once. I'm everywhere.
Yeah, man.
If I lived in New Hampshire, I probably would want a place in Florida as well. So
Very true.
Sounds
good, man. Well, we're excited to spend some time with you today, learn a little bit more about what you're doing within your business. But before we jump into that, we'll break the ice here with our lightning round.
Audio Jungle.
I've got one here that we haven't asked in a long time. All right, Jake, what's one thing that you were most scared to tell your parents when you were a kid?
Oh,
He's like, shit, dude, I thought these were going to be real estate questions.
Yeah, I would say one time I used to have these little electric razor bikes. It was like a little dirt bike I had.
Yep.
And me and we lived on this big hill in New Hampshire. And one day after we got off the bus from school, we were on the scooter, me and my buddy Javier, and I was standing on one peg of the dirt bike and he was standing on the other peg of the dirt bike. We were just bombing down the hill. We obviously wiped out. It was like this big disaster. I had scrapes all over myself.
Oh my God.
What are we doing? Like I was on one side of the dirt bike holding one handlebar. He was on the other side holding the other handlebar.
It's a suicide mission, yeah.
Like,
I have a similar story to that. That's pretty awesome. All right. Who's the worst boss you've ever had and why?
I say worst boss of all time. I'll talk about the type of boss that he was.
Yeah.
So the type of boss was, I'm reading a really good book now that I'm kind of in a leadership position called Multipliers by Liz Weissman.
That's an amazing book.
Which is, goes over a lot of good things, but he was just a classic micromanager. And he was one of those people who was really successful in the corporate world, made a ton of money. I think he's probably multimillionaire. And then he tried to create a small business and do these things, but he didn't really understand how to delegate. And he had his hand in everything. He had like 3 or 4 different businesses going on. And he was like the bottleneck in each business. Like he just did not understand how to run the small business. So working for him was tough because you did not have much freedom. You know, he was a micromanager and kind of a tyrant in that sense.
I love that. In the book, they would call him a diminisher.
Diminisher, yeah, man.
All right. What mistake do you keep making over and over again?
I'd say the biggest thing is just mindset. From the beginning till now, you know, waking up and having the right mindset, eliminating the limiting beliefs, right? I feel like you can get better at that as you go along, but they always kind of creep back in. So kind of falling victim to those old thought patterns.
Yeah.
I think that's a common mistake I'll be doing a lot. And obviously you're always trying to advance those and get better at that, but that's definitely a common one.
Yeah, definitely.
I remember we asked somebody that, I won't name names, but they were like, I don't make any mistakes over and over again. I learn and I never make the same mistake. I'm like, dude, I could give you a list of 3 things I probably continue to do that I need to work on.
Yeah.
Well, that was one mistake right there, answering the question like that. So
Right?
Yep. What's your most powerful and vivid memory?
Powerful and vivid memory. I would say, I used to, my grandparents' old house we used to have Thanksgivings there. That's some of my best, most vivid memories is Thanksgivings in this house that has since been demolished and all these things. And yeah, I think just Thanksgivings at my old grandparents' place in Richmond, Virginia.
Nice, man. Good times. All right. What's something about you that surprises people when they hear it?
I think one reason is not to say that I have a certain level of success or anything, but people ask me a lot like, oh, you must be so smart or so this because you've had a successful business. And it's not, though. There's nothing special. It's just consistent action over a long period of time.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's a common thing too. It's like, oh, he must have something, he must have something, whether it's intelligence or a scaler. Like, how'd you get so good at talking to sellers? Not that I'm like that good, but people ask me that. Right. And it's like, well, because I've had 30,000 calls with people. Right. I mean, like if you had 30,000 calls, it would be unreasonable for you not to be good too.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's go, man. If you had to spend the whole day with someone dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Oh, I'd love to spend the whole day with. These are some great questions to get going, man. I'm like, end of the day, you're really making me think here. One person to spend the whole day with would probably be Napoleon Hill. Man, he interviewed so many people. Like if he was alive, just like obviously Think and Grow Rich is like a culmination of all his insights, but being able to speak with him and really get in, because I'm getting really into the whole mindset, subconscious mind thing, but not to get on a foo-foo tangent, but I think he would explain a lot of things to me. Yeah. Great.
What impact has the mindset that Napoleon Hill preaches has impacted you in your life, in your business?
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely everything. The business is not hard. You know that. I mean, whether you're realty, wholesaling, fix and flip, the concepts are very simple. It's very basic. Anyone can grasp it, but it's like, do you have the mindset to take the consistent, this is one of my favorite quotes, being able to do the consistently basic thing for an uncommonly long period of time without convincing yourself that you're smarter than you are. Right. Yeah. So being able to do that consistently basic thing, you don't see the results, but you kind of have that blind faith, either from people who have already done it, or that this process works. It's a proven process. So like trusting the process, having the blind faith, and just keep doing the basic things over and over. It's a mindset thing, and knowing you're gonna get there eventually, and not dropping out, right?
Mastering the monotonous boredom.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in realty, you see people in the first 3-5 years, 90% of people get out, right? Yeah. But if you can get past that threshold, just by consistently doing the thing, you're automatically in the top 5% of realtors, of all-time realtors, if you can stay in for 5 years. Right. That's a crazy stat. In wholesaling, 90 to 95% of people are out of it after their first year. So by literally just sticking in and doing it for a year, you're in like the top 5-10%, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Wild. Yeah.
That is kind of crazy. All right. So for people who do not know you, can you tell us a little bit about your business and what you do?
Yeah. So I run a real estate wholesaling company with my business partner that I met in college. It's something we started in school. I was going to be in accounting. I was going to be an accountant.
You got saved. Your friend saved you.
Yeah, for sure. It would have been a tough position. I mean, after I did the internship, I knew it wasn't going to be for me. But we started in college. He was he was across the hall freshman year. And yeah, we started out as kind of like friends, and we started doing some stuff real estate wise, and did about 4 wholesale deals our senior year, and then decided to keep pushing into keep pouring into the business after that. I had to do some other things for a little bit, obviously bar back and stuff while we were getting started, but ultimately, yeah, we've just been full-time in that for the past like 15, 16 months.
Nice, man.
So when did you get out of school?
I got out of school in 2022.
Oh, wow. So you're younger. You're a lot younger. I didn't realize that.
Good for you, dude.
Good for you. It's not every day where we bring somebody on. They're like, the first 3-4 deals I did were when I was a senior in college.
Yeah.
Except for that kid, Jacob Blank, who's like fucking 19.
Yeah.
He's like, college.
Yeah. He's in,
Jacob? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've seen him on like YouTube. Yeah. He's like 19. He's driving like an i8 from Wholesaling. I'm like, all right.
Yeah. Kid's a beast.
Man. It's great.
He's like, the thing that I don't want to make, I'm not making fun of him, but he's just so well spoken for his age. He's like, the thing that I struggle with is hanging out with people my age because they don't understand me. I'm like, yeah, dude, because you're a monster.
Yeah.
In a great way.
Savage.
Yeah.
Savage.
He is. That's awesome, man. So Jake, at what point in time so you've been doing this consistently for the last 16, 17 months?
Yeah, 16, 17 months. Well, so we've been doing it for probably like 2.5 years,
so
right?
Full-time
but it was kind of part-time. Yeah. Full-time past 16, 17 months.
Sweet. When would you say, at what point did you feel like this is something you're going to go 100% into? Or did you
When I was in college.
Okay, got it.
I already made that commitment, right? So it's interesting too, because we started out doing a couple different things. Initially, it was like we read Rich Dad Poor Dad and we wanted to own real estate, right? Cash flowing real estate. We kind of went down this rabbit hole. I was licensed in New Hampshire and Maine, so I was doing realtor stuff as well at one point. But we were chasing too many rabbits. Like at first, I'm trying to be a realtor. I'm part of a team. And it was like a level 10 opportunity to be a realtor. But at a certain point, I had to make a decision. Do we want to go all in on our business, or do we want to be a part of the team? Because you can't give 100% to both and really gain traction.
Yep.
And on top of that, we're trying to buy multifamily properties. It's just like, it was too much going on. Eventually we whittled it down to wholesaling. So we were always all in on real estate. I think October of 2022, when we went full-time into wholesaling, that's when we're like, okay, we're putting everything in here. And once I did that and I left that bar backing job, I'm like, I'm never going back there. Like, I don't care what happens. Like, this is working. This has to work. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like the thing, burn the boats. Right. I mean, when you have no other option, you just find a way. And for me, I was a little bit more motivated because there's two ways to get motivated. Like Hormozy says, like if you're the rat, you can be motivated by the cat, which is the fear chasing you, or you're motivated by the cheese, which is like something, it's like pleasure. Right. So going after something you want, like a lot of money, that's motivating, but it's not going to motivate you like about to be kicked out of your apartment for not paying rent. Yeah. You know?
No,
so
that's a good one.
When you have that hovering over your head, you find a way to make it work.
Sweet, man. What was the size of your first wholesale?
First wholesale, $2,500.
Nice. Okay.
And I thought it was like a bag, man. I was like 2,500 because I used to work construction, and that's like what I'd make all summer. So I was like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah.
What about your second one?
Second one was like 15.
And your third?
I think like 7.
I can't remember what I did smaller. 3 deals ago. You're asking this kid what he did 16,
no,
2.5 years ago?
I'm just curious to know because my first one was like the 5, and I'm just like, all right. So it grows and it grows and it grows, which is, it's always good to know what your cherry was,
Yeah.
What was your first one?
The first wholesale we did, I think, was 30.
Yeah.
Our sale price is probably higher here though. But
I think it's easier when the sale price is lower though, because the margin makes it more sense.
Yeah. Well, it might be easier, but here it's probably easier to make a bigger spread because of the sale price.
True.
But regardless, I had the same sort of, like you said, in construction, you'd make that all summer, right? For us, first wholesale deal we did, I think the spread was like 30 or 40,000. Our average commission check as realtors is like 12 grand. So we're like, oh shit, I just did 3 deals. And I'm like you said, I'm it's going to be hard for me to go back to the traditional listing structure. The frustration I would always have is like, you don't have control when you're listing somebody's property, right? So you're listing somebody's property and they want this price by this date. And if they don't get it, then they're going to fire you, or you just have to fire them, right? And then if you get them to agree to a price that makes sense and agree to an offer from an agent, then the agent could screw it up because the agent can't talk to their buyer and explain to them that, $30,000 is an absurd thing to ask for a home inspection credit on a house that was just built.
Yeah.
And then, then you're at the lender, like I could go on and on. But
you're at everybody's mercy. You're in a roller coaster.
I had no control, even if I did my part. So for me, the whole idea with wholesaling was just, at least if I'm tying up the property myself, then I've got faith and there's less people that could screw it up for me.
Yeah.
At least the way I see it.
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons I like the wholesaling. I thought it was a better fit for us.
Yeah.
Well, for one, I've heard this stat thrown around by like Brent Daniels, other people, but on average, a wholesaler is going to make 10% of whatever the ARV is. So say it's a $400,000 property, you might make $40K, right? Whereas a realtor, you're making, if you're lucky, 3%, right? If you're a good realtor, you make 3%, right? Then you still have to split it with the broker and stuff.
Yeah.
But also the reason we kind of went into wholesale was because as a young person, no matter how smart you are, you're at an inherent disadvantage, I think, with the realty side, because people are always just going to kind of look at you as, yeah, you can still get listings and still do deals, but I could have someone with less knowledge than me, in my perspective, who's 40 just getting into the realtor side, and someone's just going to trust them more because they're older.
Yeah.
Whereas wholesaling, we looked at it like, hey, we just got to find a deal. No one cares how old we are, what our experience is, whatever. If we can lock up something and if there's value to this deal, we're going to be rocking and rolling.
Well, Eric Klein, whether you like him or not, and I know he's controversial or whatever, he'll tell you that like wholesaling is not real estate, it's just sales and marketing. And the beauty of it, of course, like, and I don't know what market you guys focus in, but you've told us that you're living in St. Petersburg. I imagine, you don't have to be living in the market where you're doing these deals because it's all over the phone.
We're 100% virtual. Yeah, we're 100% virtual. And it is 100% sales and marketing business.
Yeah.
Just flipping paper. And we've learned a lot about business in general, scaling this business up, right? Because it is just business at the end of the day, right? You learn how to market, you learn how to manage leads once they come in, you learn how to convert leads, right? And you just manage it all.
Yeah. We always jokingly, Kiro and I were partners for a long time. We'd always say, like, it doesn't really matter what we're selling, right? Like we could go and turn this business into selling something else, right? Because we're, it's what we always say, attract, convert, deliver, right? You're attracting the leads, you're converting them, and then you're delivering the product or the service. So it could be, if there's a lucrative way to sell something else down the road, you could always switch into that.
Pivot and switch,
Talk to us about how you've set up your team. What markets you guys are focusing in on, and what's the makeup of your team with like outbound callers, with acquisitions people, and
what's your process overall?
What's your process look like?
Yeah, so we're mainly doing outbound marketing right now. And I think that's just kind of how you get started, right? When you get started, you don't have a lot of money. So you got to go the cheaper methods, which are calling and texting. Whereas we know inbound methods like pay-per-click and things like that are a much hotter lead, which we're going to start doing some PPC this year. But how we have it set up now is we have 5 cold callers. We have a lead manager, and I just actually hired my first sales rep the other week. He's supposed to be locking up a deal as we speak. So hopefully I'll get off this thing and we'll have a contract.
Nice.
But that'll be great. So essentially how the acquisition side functions is we have these cold callers who are going to essentially push anything to the CRM where the person says, hey, I'm looking to sell my property, right? Really not a strict criteria. Our lead managers is
US based or overseas cold callers?
No, they're VAs.
Yep.
VAs from the Philippines. Yep. So cold callers. Anyone who raises their hand says, yes, I want to sell my property, it's going to go to the CRM. Lead manager, also a VA. Very, very, she's amazing though. She's incredible. She was lucky find. She's going to vet those leads. She's going to confirm that it's actually a lead, what we call a net lead, meaning that they actually do have a reason to sell or they have a discounted price. And then she's going to assess the timeline. Hey, are they within 30 days from selling? If they are, it's going to be an appointment set on the acquisitions calendar. And then acquisitions are going to take them through the sales process. So that's kind of how they work. So top of the funnel, cold callers and texter. We have one texter is going to bring it in. And then the lead manager is going to assess, hey, what's the timeline? Are they within 30 days from selling? If they are, acquisition manager is going to take them through the sales process and try to close it.
Sweet.
And the sales manager that you have, that's the person you just hired, you said?
So I'm like the sales manager now. So we hired like what they call an acquisition manager in the business. He's not really a manager though. I actually like the term acquisition rep because that's really what you are. You're like a closer. You're just sales calls all day long. So his KPIs in the acquisition seat are 50 to 70 dials a day. It's the same thing Eric Klein does. 50 to 70 dials a day, 2 to 3 hours of talk time, 2 to 3 offers, right? What do we care about ultimately for these acquisitions, guys? It's really just the offers. Well, really it's contracts, right? Contracts first. But in order to do that, you got to make offers. We have the talk time KPI because we want to make sure we're having quality conversations, right? Because especially with a virtual wholesale model, you're never seeing these people. If you're making an offer, you have to have a phone call at least 30 to 60 minutes, right? So you can build up that trust. And the trust is not only to get them to sign, but it's also like a post-close thing. Like if you had an 8-minute conversation with them, you locked it up. They could easily want to back out, or they might ghost you after, or they're sending it to their attorney after because they don't even really know you or trust you. So having those quality conversations, those 30 to 60-minute offer calls is super crucial. And then the 50 to 70 dials are just making sure he's getting enough at-bats every day to get the talk time and offers required.
And that person is US based?
Yeah, US based.
So the 5 outbound callers report to the lead manager. The lead manager is also Filipino, but just a little bit more skilled.
Yep.
And then that person funnels into your acquisition manager?
Correct.
Okay. Correct. And who is US based?
Yes.
So 3 transfers.
How do you find a good acquisition manager?
Well, when I go to hire my second one, I'm going to reach out to my network first because I didn't do it the first time. But we used a service called Wise Hire, which was really great. And they kind of put it out to Indeed and all these things. And they have an initial filter of like the DISC personality test, which is great because it automatically paired their DISC test with the position of the acquisition rep. So the system kind of only gave us people that match that. And then we just put them through a 3-step interview process. So the first one is general questions, see how they are. If they pass that, the second one's going to be a role play. So I'm going to give them our script, have them do the role play. Then the third one is a panel where Isaiah, who's my business partner and does dispositions and systems, he comes in and we do a panel. So it's like a three round process.
Nice. Cool. That's a good way to do it.
And he obviously, that person can work remote, right? So it doesn't matter where they live.
Yeah, exactly. He actually, he lives in Arizona, so he's a couple hours behind. But yeah, they're remote. So, I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages to it, right? It's definitely harder from a culture perspective to have virtual people. I mean, you're not like Eric Klein, for example, not to keep bringing him up, but I mean, he's got the in-person office, right? So you can be over these people, you're answering questions right there. You're able to coach them better. The energy is probably higher, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it is just a sales and marketing business, and sales is a lot of like accountability and rah and keeping them pumped up. So that can be a little bit tough virtually, but we try to have huddles and training sessions and things like that to try to combat that a little bit.
What kind of business did that person work in before? Were they in real estate before?
Yeah, they had done some acquisition stuff before, working with pre-foreclosures specifically. But this is a little bit, I was actually talking to him today about it, and he's like, yeah, this is definitely different. It's a little bit more fast-paced because the way that we have it set up right now, because a lot of people have acquisition managers, but these acquisition managers are like cold calling. They're like lead generating. This is like straight sales. Like you got people looking to sell their house. You're just taking them through the sales process all day long.
Because of the 5 callers.
Yeah.
Got it.
And you're doing this nationwide or what?
No. So our main markets are New Hampshire, Maine, kind of that, and Massachusetts, that northern New England area, which we've kind of gone away from. Florida's like our main market now. Florida's been great. And now we're also into North Carolina a little bit. So those are kind of like our 3 markets. Florida's definitely our bread and butter. We've been getting a lot of deals there.
Yeah.
So you guys are buying leads in those 3 markets, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. You funnel those into your outbound callers. Those guys call.
Yeah. We essentially pull 2 types of lists. We'll pull just a basic absentee owner, individually owned, not owned by an LLC, under $500,000 estimated value, not on the market. And we'll call that. And then we call what we call like a blanket pain. So we'll just go into PropStream or whatever. And all these people like tied landlord, bankruptcy, pre-foreclosure, probate, inherited, things like that. Those will all just go into one list for that. And that'll be owner occupied data as well. So that's kind of how we hit the owner occupied data.
Nice.
And what do you guys use? Like ready mode, call tools? What kind
we use a batch dialer.
Gotcha.
So for the cold callers are in-house, but we're going to just start going out of house. Cause I'm just like, I'm to the point where I'm done. I'm like, listen, the team is great. The cold callers. I'm like, you guys just need to, if you're having high available time, there's all these things you got to deal with the dialer. I'm like, it's just not even worth it. Like if I could just hire a call center to tell me they're going to give me 2 leads a day, why am I fussing with a dialer and all these things? It's just not a good use of time. I should just be spending time with the sales guys trying to close deals.
Yeah.
So yeah, we use batch dialer, but I think going forward, the company called PBS, it's what is it? Proper Business Solutions. I think they're out of Egypt or something. It's not the VA company, but a lot of people have been having a lot of success with them, and they handle the dialer, everything. You just got to give them data. And
so you give them the data, they call, and they give it back to you.
And they guarantee 2 to 3 leads a day, at least 2.
Yeah. How are you guys handling your sort of retail opportunities at this point? Like if somebody's really more of like somebody who should be going on the MLS or going on the market.
Yeah. Well, the hot thing is novation, right?
Yeah.
And everyone's talking about the novations, trying to do the novation. So, I mean, we've pitched those a million times. You haven't actually done one yet. I mean, obviously, can always refer them to a realtor if they're truly like going that route. And that's a revenue stream because my business partner is still licensed, so we can get referrals that way. But yeah, we're trying to do the novation. We kind of pitch it as the concierge program. But yeah, I mean, if the property is still financeable from like an FHA perspective, right? You can just kind of slap that up on the market and try to get that full retail price. So instead of doing like in Florida, we'll do after repair value or ARV times 80%. That's typically what we're minus repair, minus wholesale. I mean, you can do ARV times 0.92%, right? 92%. Because all you have to subtract is the realtor costs and some closing costs, no repairs, right? And then just minus the wholesale fee there. Typically, you want to have a larger spread though. Like you might factor in like 40,000 on your wholesale, but that's because you know that the buyer is going to negotiate on the back end and just give you some room to do things. But again, we still have yet to do one of those.
I pitched one today and I'm like hoping that they actually take it, but we'll see.
Yeah.
It's always a hard pitch to make because then their question is like, what happens if you don't do the work right or you abandon it or whatever? And I'm like, we'll buy it. They're like,
well, I feel like you really got to get your pitch down before you.
Yeah, I agree.
It's complicated. There's like two ways to do the novation. I think the one you're talking about are you talking about where it needs a little bit of work and you're going to partner up with them?
Yep.
And then you don't have holding costs, right? So you can flip it.
The equity split. Yeah. So the equity split is like you go in there, you do renovations, it's vacant to get the most out of it. The equity protection is like it's occupied. You don't need to do anything to it. Maybe a couple grand just to clean it up, but that's it.
Yeah. And then there's the other way where you can literally just turn around and put it on the market. Like say it was the property was dated. That's like the other novation strategy that I've just kind of learned about, because initially my understanding of innovation was the way you're explaining it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, we can come up a little bit on our cash price because we're not going to pay for any holding costs, right? Because anyone who fix and flips, they use hard money and it's expensive. So if you as a seller just hold the property for these 3 months, I can eliminate all those costs and come up on the cash price. This other way we've been kind of pitching innovation, learning about innovation, is properties that are still financeable, right? So if they're still financeable, meaning they pass a 4-point inspection of roof, AC, electrical, and plumbing, you can essentially, if you get an attorney in fact or a power of attorney from the seller, you can put it onto the MLS and just sell it to an FHA buyer. You can literally have someone like a first-time home buyer buy the property, which you typically wouldn't be able to do with a wholesale deal because it would need work and it wouldn't qualify for that financing. So able to sell these properties at like retail price if they're financeable.
Yeah. No, that's so Trevor, I forgot his last name. He always pitches that as equity protection. So you're always pitching it
Invest
as
with Trev, Instagram.
Yeah. And he'll always
Ahing is his last name. Trevor Ahing. He's in Temecula, California.
Yeah. He'll always pitch it as like it's an equity protection program. So, you don't have to worry about the management, maintenance, whatever. This is the price that you're going to get. And then we put it on the market, and then we get to split or they get the overage from there. They cover the closing costs and the realtor fees. And it's in reality, if you don't have an attorney involved, like we're an attorney state, so that they tend to sabotage all of that. My lady's like, I want to present the contract to my attorney. So I sent her over the novation contract, and I'm hoping that I get a response. But I know her attorney's going to look at it and be like, what's a novation? I have no idea what this is. Yeah. So then I might have to battle that out, but I don't know. But that's a negative mindset, so I'm going to be positive. So she's going to say yes. But yeah, no, that's a good avenue too.
Are you guys only wholesaling these days? I know you said you're dabbling or trying to get started into some of the novations. Are you doing any fix and flips at this point?
No fix and flips, because our vision is really, ultimately long-term vision is to buy and hold multifamily. Like I feel like a lot of people's strategy is, or to get a portfolio. But we're just like, hey, because this is really a sales and marketing business and we can scale it up, let's scale this business up first. And our vision is to be out of it by like mid 2025. I'll have a sales manager in place. We'll have the system running, doing whatever, $3 to $4 million a year. And then that will be a cash flowing asset in and of itself, the wholesale business, right? And then we'll be able to take that cash and go buy multifamily. Yeah. So that'll keep us focused, right? So we're everything just wholesale, not fix and flip. Don't get distracted, get out of the business. And then if we want to do some fix and flips, we can start doing those, or buying multi or whatever we want to do.
Yeah. So if you had to go through, you're saying majority of your business is coming from Florida right now, right? From wholesale in Florida. Can you walk us through a transaction that happened recently, or one that was memorable for you? I guess a bigger spread that you can share.
Yeah. So I just posted about one today. It was down in Brandon. These are our favorite deals, are absentee owner properties that are vacant. Oh my gosh. They're just like a dream, because especially on the dispositions end,
it's easy.
The owner doesn't live near the property. So it's never an issue. We just throw a lockbox on it and there's no tenant in it. It's vacant. So you can just, people can go by whenever, check the property out, all these things. So this was just a classic, needed a lot of work, inherited the property, lived 2 hours away. And she was trying to decide, like, do I want to fix it up and do all these things? Ultimately, she's like, no, because it's going to be too hard to manage living 2 hours away, trying to do the rehab. I'd rather just sell it as it is. And
so what'd you guys lock it up at?
I think we locked it up at 133.
133.
Yeah. We sold it for like I think we made like 55 on that or something. So we probably sold it for like 190 something. Good. And we didn't think it was going to be that hot. Like that was one of our first ones that we dispoed on the MLS. Because we've been doing that every time now. We have the pre-marketing agreement in our PNS, and then we just get that attorney and fact signed, and then we can disposition to cash buyers on the MLS.
Did you actually list it with a realtor, or did you use a flat fee broker?
Flat fee.
Okay. So you got it locked up, 133, ran some numbers, listed it. You got the attorney and fact signed, right? Which means you can sign a listing agreement for a property you don't technically own yet. Yep. You listed on the MLS for whatever you listed for, 188. And somebody brings you a buyer, and you just sell it the old-fashioned way. And the did the end buyer get a mortgage, or did they pay cash?
Cash. It needed a lot of work. It was a cash buyer through an agent, and I don't 100% know the process. Like I said, I don't do the dispo, but sometimes you're going to have to pay an agent. Sometimes you don't. It depends on the situation. Like sometimes we'll have to pay the agent as well because of the process. Sometimes like the buyer covers it. But yeah, I think we listed it like 160 or something. Like we didn't really know because it was one of our first deals. And then Isaiah's phone blew up like 60 people first day, like first couple hours. It was like freaking, he's like, I priced this thing way too low.
Yeah. But in reality though, you can't price it too low, right? Like you price it aggressively, you get a ton of interest.
Yeah.
What's been your main avenue for disposition if it hasn't been the MLS? You guys use Investor Lift? Are you?
Yeah. Use Investor Lift. I mean, we have a decent amount of cash buyers built up. Like, not a decent amount, but like when we were in New Hampshire, we had like whatever, 400 or 500 there. And right now we're kind of getting I was actually just talking to Isaiah about this before in our meeting was prospecting for cash buyers. So we use Investor Lift. Like we have the classic VIP buyers, right? Let's send it out to our VIP buyers. If no one wants it, then let's send it out to the bigger buyers list, Investor Lift, and then we can do the MLS after that. Kind of like that tiered approach. Because it's interesting from a dispo perspective too, because it's not only all about price. Because sometimes if you can get a deal to one of your VIP guys or something, it's kind of like a relationship building thing, which is always good to have. So maybe you don't get as much as you could, but you also save time, right? Because if you can just get someone locked in, you can move on to the next thing. And it's also like a social capital thing. Like I sell you the deal, you appreciate it, all these things. So
no, that's good. What's something that you've learned from like a mistake that you would warn against for somebody getting into wholesale?
Not partnering up in the beginning, not partnering up in the very, very beginning. Like there's so many, that first deal that we did, the $2,500 deal, it was a JV. It was like one of the bigger players in the area. All I did was lock it up and they sold it for me. That was actually crazy. It was a mobile home, got it under contract for $500, $500. And then we sold it for like 55 and we made like 2,500. But wow. I think partnering up, and even as you get started in wholesale, just focusing on acquisitions too. Because I use this example all the time. You might get a property under contract at 100,000, right? And you don't really have a lot of cash buyers or experience. You might sell that deal for 120, right? And you got to spend all the time doing all these things. If you team up with like the biggest disposition wholesaler in your market, they might sell that deal for 150. Get you more money or as much money as you would have spent dispoing it yourself. And you just saved all that time and you're just right back, right? Because it's all pipeline on the acquisition side. So you're right back in the pipeline, closing another deal. Yep. So that allows you to really gain momentum and traction and all these things. And then you can worry about dispo. But I think as a single person, it's honestly a mistake to be doing acquisitions and dispo unless you have a partner who wants to do dispo because it's just too much. And for what? And
when you JV, it's a good way to learn about the other part of the process, right? Yeah. So you JV with that team, they've got the dispo model down pat, and you can learn from them. You're like, okay, well, they're using this tech, they're using Investor Lift. They did do an email blast. They don't do a text blast because they didn't have a good experience with it, but they do the voicemail drops, and but they don't do this. And you just sort of learn, you learn that part of the business. And then if you want to bring somebody else to do that in-house, you can build it out on your team.
Yeah, so important. Like, and just understanding that it's a long-term game though, too,
Yeah.
Like another favorite quote of mine is like, it's long-term games with long-term people. That's what it is, right? Consistency over intensity, right? Yeah. I was always the opposite. I was always intensity over consistency. I'd be like, all right, I'm getting into this wholesaling thing. I'm going to go 14 hours a day for a month and then never want to do it again. You know what I mean? Yeah. Versus just put in a consistent 4 to 6 hours a day for the next 8 months. You'd be surprised where you get, or next year or 2 years, Yeah.
Who have been some of the best mentors or people to give you direction? I know you mentioned some, you were in Eric Klein's program. Who else?
Eric Klein's great, phenomenal sales. He has a great sales background. What I liked about Eric was that he didn't have any real estate experience. Yeah. And the fact that his sales experience was successful in this industry, one, really showed me how it really is just sales and marketing. And two, it was a testament to his skill because it's not like he knew real estate stuff. He's just applying his sales knowledge. So I thought he's a really good person for that. And then I just really love Brent Daniels. I mean, he's kind of like the OG of wholesaling in a sense. But
are you still in his program?
I was never in Brent's program.
Okay.
I just have listened to so many podcasts from him. Yeah. Him, Pace Morby, and Jamil Damji do the Wholesale Hotline podcast, which is probably the top podcast you can listen to. It's like continuing education for wholesalers. Like realtors, they got to take CE. Yeah. That's what wholesalers should listen to.
We haven't had Brent down here, but we've had Jamil and we've had Pace.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get Brent, but I don't know. I guess I got to follow up more, but
he's tougher. I think he's kind of optimized from what it sounds like. He's like optimized his lifestyle to really, he does like the coaching and stuff.
Yeah.
But like Pace and Jamil, they're like flying all around doing all these meetups. Brent doesn't really do that. I think he's like optimized for kind of family time. He's really focusing on that. So it's probably tougher to get him to come onto these things.
Yeah, no, that's well, all right. So what are the biggest takeaways that you've learned from like a Brent in comparison to like an Eric?
What I love about Brent is how simple he makes the business. Eric does that too, but Brent just simplifies it. He's just like, listen, it's conversations and offers. Like he just put out an episode on Wholesale the other day. It's like 10 things I wish I knew when I got started. But one of them is just like, it's just conversations and offers.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people can complicate it too much with the sales stuff, right? Too much, right? It's like, oh, it's all about sales. It is. That helps you. But at the end of the day, if you're not having conversations and making offers every single day, doesn't matter what your sales process is or isn't, you're just not going to get deals.
Yeah, it's a numbers
so really
game.
Just keeping it simple. Yeah, not getting too complicated with, the CRMs that you're using and all this stuff. Like none of that matters.
It does.
Right? He was saying like, yeah, I had one student who spent 6 weeks trying to come up with their LLC name before they wholesaled.
It's the same thing though as realtors. It's like, as soon as I get my real estate license, I got to create my real estate Instagram. And what am I going to name it? And it's Susie sells, homes. And it people just get caught up in all the BS.
The minutia, yeah.
And it's, you get certainly bogged down in that.
Yeah. What I'm curious to know is like the texting instead of the calls. Like, do you guys get like a response from the texting? I hear a bunch of people that do, but I just don't know how.
Yeah, I don't know the nuances of it. It's been a tough one because the thing that's unfortunate is like,
regulation.
As for probably a lot of people, that was our number one lead gen. I mean, texting's ripping. And texting, the great thing about texting is that you're pulling data and you're calling it and then you can just text it. So I don't need to pull more data to text. It's like I'm hitting the same data twice.
Yeah.
Right. And on top of that, one texter brings in 9 to 10 leads a day, whereas a cold caller brings in 2 to 3 leads a day.
Wow.
So you have one texter bringing in 3 times what the cold caller brings in.
You texting through batch too?
No, launch control.
Yeah.
So we used launch control and the whole thing was down for like a month in November. It's wild, the whole company. And I was like, oh, is this going to be the end? And I think a lot of people have gotten out of texting, but it's been rocky. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we've just been kind of sticking with it. We're like, hey, maybe this is an opportunity. A lot of people aren't doing it, but when it's on, I mean, we send about 2,500 a day right now, just with the one texter. And we'll get about 8 to 10 leads from that.
So you got launch control and you got batch
dialer,
Cold
batch dialer. And those feed into what do you use? Podio or something?
Resimply.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that?
No.
Yeah. It's a phenomenal CRM. I mean, it has everything in there. I mean, it's, we do our list stacking in there. So we keep track of all of our data, just like batch leads or PropStream would do, where you can stack lists and see pain points. All of our data management's in there, as well as our leads. You call and text the leads in there. You can do drip campaigns. I mean, it's very robust CRM.
Very cool.
If you had to pick one service and you had to get rid of the rest, which one would you pick to keep?
One service to keep be the CRM.
CRM.
For sure.
Okay.
I really like that CRM.
Interesting.
Good,
okay,
man.
That's good to look into. I wrote down 2 of those websites. I for some reason I've never looked into InvestorLift, but I feel like that's a good one to.
It's great for dispo. I mean, I don't even think
You've never used it for a dispo?
If there's a free version, we have it, but we haven't used it yet for dispo. We just I've heard of a lot of people having success with it.
Yeah,
I know like Pace and all those guys push, or maybe Eric pushes for it.
I think
a lot of those guys.
Steve Trang does. I think he's part of it now because it's the Rob Wensley. He created it. This guy Rob Wensley. But yeah, they might push it. It's great. I mean, it's the number one dispo software. I would say though, you definitely have to be in like a big market for it to really work.
Yeah.
You got to be in like in New Hampshire. That's not working.
There's no one on there.
Yeah. There's no one up there on there.
Sweet.
Good, man. Cool, man. Well, listen, we host a mastermind, Kiro and I, every Tuesday, 4:00. It's an investor mastermind, wholesalers, flippers, just people coming together, sharing ideas. We'd love to have you join us on there if you're interested. We could certainly send the invite, and we'll even have you probably host a call just to share a little bit more with, make it a little bit more interactive with some other clients.
Is it virtual?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, 100%.
Yep, every Tuesday, 4:00 Eastern time. Yeah, it's a good crew. So we'll extend the invite on that. And it was a pleasure spending some time with you, man. Thank you so much for sharing some time with us, sharing ideas. We love to collaborate with people.
Especially on a Friday afternoon. So thank you.
And especially with someone like you at your age too. What are you, 22, 23?
Yeah, I'm 25 because I played hockey growing up. Do you guys know what junior hockey is? Probably not.
I'm a hockey fan, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I played juniors for 2 years up in Toronto, but I got hurt my second year because I was going to play college and all these things. But so after high school, I played juniors for 2 years. So then going into college, I was 2 years older than everyone.
Oh, so you're what we call a super senior.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a super senior.
Yeah.
Sweet,
Good, man. That's awesome. Cool.
Oh, wait, sorry. So if somebody wants to connect with you, reach out, what's the best way to do so?
Yeah, you want to just DM me on Instagram, Jake_Burhans. You can reach out to me on Instagram, but I'm on everything. LinkedIn, you can check me out there. TikTok, YouTube, whatever.
Sweet.
Good stuff, man. Well, we appreciate it. We'll make sure that we tag you when we release the episode, which should be out in a couple weeks.
Yep.
And we'll go from there.
Sweet.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.